Okay, so you are a podcaster and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. It's already done. It's already happened. And a couple of things that I didn't talk about in our last video are that you've already created your RSS feed without knowing it. And an RSS feed already has all of the information that you have put together whilst creating your show and whilst creating your first trailer intro episode. And this RSS feed has already been distributed across all different platforms. And before you know it, they will be ingested, and these platforms will start to showcase your show, and you'll start to see your analytics pouring in. So congratulations. And now what we got to do is talk about the next piece. I call this a rinse and repeat piece. And this is the creation of the episodes that come after this, your actual episodes that start to come after this. So let's take a deep breath and let's jump straight into how you should do this. The best part is that you have already done all of the work, all right? So you have created within your content calendar when you're going to be recording this episode. You already know when you're going to be releasing this episode. You know where you're going to be recording this episode. So what tool you're going to be using as a software tool. And you also know if you're using a mic, which mic to be using. You know where you're going to be editing this episode. So whether you're using an Audacity or you're using a Hubhopper studio editor, you already know all of this, and just think about this as a larger version of your trailer episode. But now that we're at this point in the phase of creating your podcast, there are a few things and tips and tricks that I'd like to give you that may make your life a little bit easier. So number one, don't be afraid to make mistakes. This is a big step that you're taking, and people like when there are imperfections. People like when something is relatable. Your first episode does not need to be perfect. In fact, it shouldn't be perfect. It should be good enough that you feel confident sharing it with the world. So essentially, there are a few things that we'll talk about. One is, if you happen to make a large mistake, we've already spoken about this before during the course of your recording, make sure that you take a pause and then repeat that same segment once again. Even if you're recording with a co-host on Squadcast and you are in the process of recording this episode and either one of you makes a mistake, pause, make sure that when the editing piece of this entire story comes, that there's going to be a flat line on the waveform, and then repeat that section again, whether that's a question or whether that's a particular topic, anything. This will just make your editing life a lot easier. Next, when it comes to the editing piece, make sure that if you're using an outsourced entity, or if you're using somebody from Fiverr or something like that, that you give them a few sort of instructions on how you wish to have your end episode created. And if you're doing this yourself, you already know exactly what you want. At this point, if I was you, what I would do is I would think about my podcast episode, my first podcast episode, as a series of different segments. So the intro, the outro, and the main body. So record the intro separately so that can exist across all of these different episodes that exist. Record your outro separately so that you don't have to go through this tedious task again and again and again. And record your main body for your first episode. So right now you're actually just recording 3 different things, but 2 of these things, the intro and the outro, are going to be reused once you make your second episode and your third episode, which is why I call this a rinse and repeat system, right? Another thing that you want to consider whilst you're jumping into the recording process is there are no right ways to do this. There are some people that like to record the entire first body in one sitting. There are some people that like to do this in, a shorter duration. So they sit for a little while, then they go have a coffee break or they have a lunch break and then they come back. So you can follow whichever methodology works for you. I personally would suggest when you're just starting out with creating your podcast, because now it's really real, you want to give yourself a little bit of leeway for days that you may miss because a habit has not been formed yet. So consider bulk uploads or batch uploads. So record 2 or 3 episodes when you get the chance. This is just for the beginning. Over time, it'll just become muscle memory for you. But I want you to be able to do this so that you can maintain cadence and make sure that there isn't a week that goes by or whatever duration you're planning on releasing episodes, that duration isn't passed without an episode going out. So in the beginning phases, it is, I would say, advisable for you to create bulk episodes when you're actually sitting down and making your podcast. Now that your first podcast episode is made, first of all, please don't rush this. This is the foundation of how you're going to make all of your episodes. So don't rush this. Just follow the hardware, the software, the editing tools that you wish to utilize. You can use all of the tools within the Hubhopper stack as well, or choose whichever one to work best for you. Post this point, when you come into Hubhopper again, now you already got a trailer episode that's been created. So when you enter Hubhopper, you will land up on the dashboard screen. So this is the main home screen of Hubhopper itself. On the top right-hand corner, there will be a button that says Add New Episode. So you can click on that Add New Episode button. And once again, you'll be taken to a very familiar page that we spoke about in the last video, which is adding an audio file. So the audio file that you just created and you merged together, which has your intro, your body, and your outro, you have to select that audio file, or if you've created it within the Hubhopper editor, you just have to publish directly from there. You'll come back to this page itself. So I'm doing this right in front of you so that I'm not missing out on anything. So I selected the audio. Post this point exactly as it was before. You either do this manually or you can use AI to do this, where since the audio has been uploaded, you generate your transcript if you wish to do this in an automated fashion, and then you can essentially just let AI do its magic and autofill your episode name in a manner that it's SEO optimized, and autofill your episode description or your show notes, which has all of your links, all of your CTAs, and an episode synopsis with timestamps. The one only difference that exists in the first episode is instead of picking the episode type as trailer, you're selecting the episode type as full episode. The episode number will be autofilled for you. If you're on a pro account, you can essentially choose to schedule this for later. If you're not on a pro account, then it will publish immediately. Once again, in the episode cover art, I would recommend leaving it as the same as your podcast cover art for now. You can think about changing this later. Don't worry, you can change all of this later. So let's say like 20 episodes in, you want to change your cover art, or you want to change your episode title or your episode description, you want to add a couple of new things, whatever, you can come back to the same episode, edit it, and be on your way. So I've clicked on the create episode button on the top right corner, and once again, essentially I have been taken to the platforms in which I've been distributed to, which we essentially discussed. So it's showcasing to me at this point where my podcast is already live and where my podcast isn't live. Remember, for your intro episode and your first episode, so your intro episode, to about 3 days to 4 days, it'll be ingested in different platforms, and then you'll see all of these platforms populating with links. And then for the platforms that don't automatically do this, there's a section right here called manual distribution. You take the RSS, which you automatically get on the final screen. And that RSS, you just have to go to these different platforms, and we've actually added an entire blog section on how to submit your RSS link into any one of these platforms. It's extremely easy to do, and then automatically all of these links will start popping in. On the left-hand side of your desktop, if you're using your desktop, or the hamburger menu if you're using your MWeb, or screen itself on the right-hand side of the application, if you're using the application, you will land up on the dashboard section again. Here you will see your second episode has also been published. So now your second episode being your actual, real, true first episode. You can always come and change the names of this. You can change the descriptions. You can change the imagery, and you'll be able to find the status of these episodes. So if there was any error with these episodes, if there were any copyright claims on these episodes, automatically the status will change, and you can just address it at that point, and you will immediately get to know where all your podcast is live, and where all certain episodes have maybe potential issues. So now we've transcended from having a podcast trailer to having a podcast episode, your first episode out. And like I said, you were already a podcaster at the start of this video, but now you're just going to be rinsing and repeating the same process over and over again, picking the schedule and the time that works best for you, so as to make sure that your ICP gets the podcast exactly when they need to get the podcast episode. So congratulations once again, and looking forward to seeing you in the next one. Now we're just going to talk about a few things on how to make sure that your podcast shines. It has its own destination, and how to get things like your discoverability up. So looking forward to seeing you in the next video, and thank you so much for taking out the time.